Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, July 15th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. More and more people in their 20s are being admitted into hospitals around the county with COVID-19 as the number of deaths and cases continue to rise. Today, county officials reported 12 more people have died from the virus. There are also 559 new cases, pushing the total now past 21,000. KPBS reporter John Carroll says they called in a doctor to drive home the message that anyone of any age can get COVID-19.
Charts that San Diego County Public Health Officer Dr. Wilma Wooten puts up every day can make the eyes of even the most attentive among us glaze over. But the information contained in them is almost always of concern. Supervisor Greg Cox put today's focus squarely on younger folks who, unlike some of their older cohorts, tend to think the pandemic just isn't that serious.
But while younger adults may think they are less likely to be affected, the fact is that some have developed life-threatening conditions and symptoms that will have long-lasting effects.
Dr. Scott Eisman, who's a pulmonary care and critical disease specialist at Scripps Memorial in Encinitas, drove home the point more dramatically. He says if younger people think COVID is something they might get but will easily get over, they should think again. He talked about a 40-year-old patient who came in for treatment and ended up spending 45 days in the hospital, most of it on his stomach to get more oxygen into his lungs.
If you're a 30 or 40-year-old individual, you have to think of what that would be like to your life and how long it would take to recover from that. Being weak, not eating well.
When it comes to COVID in Southern California, San Diego County is still doing fairly well. Certainly better than LA County, which reported a single-day record of COVID cases on Tuesday, along with notching the highest number of people hospitalized since the pandemic began. Given our proximity, I asked how concerned county health officials are about that. Dr. Wooten said the county is just following the metrics, but then added this.
If we need to do something in terms of closing quote-unquote borders from other jurisdictions, that's a political decision that will be made locally.
A decision that county officials no doubt hope never even has to be considered. John Carroll, KPBS News.
Delayed testing results aren't just a trend in San Diego County, but nationwide. Officials say that's because of increased demand and supply shortages. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says the county is trying to work around the roadblocks.
It's business as usual at one of San Diego County's COVID-19 testing sites. This one is in a University of San Diego parking lot and is by appointment only. It's one of the new sites using tests from local biotech company Helix. The county is partnering with them to do 2,000 tests per day quickly.
It's a PCR-based test, and that includes a full non-invasive collection kit, which is processed in our clinical lab, and results are returned the next day.
Recently, the county has been able to scale up its testing, but labs like Quest Diagnostics say a nationwide trend of increased testing is slowing the time to process test results. There's also a nationwide supply issue, meaning unless you're a priority patient, people could be waiting 7 days or more for testing results.
We know that's not acceptable. They're trying to do better.
New state guidance recommends prioritizing testing and test processing of hospital patients with symptoms of COVID-19, followed by other symptomatic and high-risk people who may have come in contact with the positive case. The county is prioritizing tests in the same way.
So we're going to have more people to be tested that need to be tested. So the county testing with Helix now getting up to 2,000 a day is actually going to allow us to possibly do the same and if not more testing.
The partnership with Helix takes pressure off the county lab and means it can focus on processing tests related to outbreaks. But processing tests requires adequate lab staff and testing equipment.
we are ramping up, our lab staff, and many of our hospital partners and even community clinics are doing 3 shifts, 7 days a week to try to meet the demand, but also testing equipment. And there's a backlog on testing equipment.
The county says most tests taken to its lab are processed within 24 hours for high-priority patients. It could take up to 3 days for others, but keep in mind the county is not doing majority of the test processing, and they have to rely on others.
That represents maybe 35% of the county lab. The rest of it, the lion's share of it, is our hospital partners that are doing testing, and then, of course, the commercial labs. Rest assured that the county lab, our hospital partners, our lab testing task force is working together with our commercial labs and now our new partner with Helix to meet the needs of our county region.
The county says because of supply shortages, they were at risk of closing some of their testing sites, but thanks to this new partnership with Helix, they can now stay open. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
San Diego City Council approved letting restaurants and retail stores expand to sidewalks, parking lots, and on-street parking. Other cities in the county are working on similar plans to move outdoors. Today, the Poway City Council approved a move to relax restrictions at city parks to make outdoor spaces available for houses of worship and fitness centers. Chula Vista's council is allowing businesses on 3rd Avenue to expand onto sidewalks. The city is also closing part of 3rd Avenue to traffic on weekends. And in Vista, today the city issued a temporary emergency order to relax outdoor use for businesses that were forced to close. With this new wave of shutdowns, authorities are bending rules and using creative solutions to help keep businesses afloat. But not all businesses are created equal. Hairdressers and barbershops are finding that even bending the rules may not be enough.
At a new twist salon in Poway, Ellie Blomgren walks us through the steps she takes to keep clients safe. She and her husband have owned this salon for 7 years.
This is beyond, no words.
With this second shutdown, many businesses have been allowed to move outside, like this CrossFit gym that shares a parking lot with a new twist salon, as well as this now closed barbershop next door. But the State Board of Barbering and Cosmetology sent out an announcement reminding personal care businesses that they're not approved to cut hair outside of their licensed establishments.
State of California can give us whatever leeway they want to, but if State Board tells us, no, you can't do that, they're our governing body. We have to do what they say. And we either get fined, we can actually lose our license.
On Tuesday, Mayor Kevin Faulkner and Councilmember Chris Cates sent a letter to the office of the governor asking him to take executive action to allow these businesses to work outside.
I wouldn't want to work outside. We're limited as far as, what we can do outdoors. We can cut hair, but we can't do color. We have to have somewhere to rinse them. And in the 80-degree weather, I can't imagine doing hair outside or having our clients be comfortable sitting outside in that heat.
Can you make a living just cutting hair?
No. 80% of my business is color and cuts along with those colors. So if I was to cut out all the colors, I would be at 20%.
Blomgren says that if any amendments are made, it should be to allow hairdressers to work in the safety and comfort of their salons.
I don't think they understand how safe people are when they come in here. I mean, I feel I'm safer in this environment, and my clients are, than going into a grocery store. Sorry, but in the grocery store, you're exposed to a lot more. Here, you're controlled. It's you and your stylist. They don't understand what we've done to make it safe in here. I don't understand why outside is better. I just don't.
And today, the county reported the first community outbreaks connected to a barbershop and a hair salon. Less than a week after its opening day, the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club has canceled this weekend's races. The decision comes after 15 jockeys recently tested positive for COVID-19. All are believed to be asymptomatic. Racing is expected to resume on July 24th. Del Mar announced a new policy today that only jockeys based in California will be able to ride at the track this summer. The U.S. has hit another record high number of coronavirus cases in a single day. According to Johns Hopkins University, more than 67,000 cases were reported yesterday. Here's Camila Bernal.
Around the country, health experts asking Americans to be responsible.
The challenges that we had is that people have not been masking and being socially distant.
This as coronavirus cases hit a new nationwide record for cases reported in a single day. At least 27 states have paused or rolled back plans to reopen their economies. The Senate Majority Leader telling his constituents that this is not over.
It's pretty obvious the coronavirus is not going away. We've seen a surge in Florida and Arizona and Texas, and yes, in Kentucky as well.
The senator also saying it will take a while to get a vaccine, even as attempts to develop a coronavirus vaccine are showing promising safety and immune response results.
I do think there's progress on both the therapeutics and the vaccine front. But we're still going to have to observe social distancing. We're still going to have to wear masks.
Precautions because a new model from the University of Washington is projecting that 224,000 Americans will have died from the virus by November 1st, an increase of 16,000 from their projections just a week ago. That jump attributed to the skyrocketing cases around the country, specifically in states like California, Texas, and Florida. Camila Bernal, KPBS News.
For a fourth day now, military and civilian emergency crews are working to put out a fire aboard the USS Bonhomme Richard. 40 sailors and 23 civilian firefighters have suffered minor injuries while battling the flames. More than 1,500 helicopter water drops have been made to cool the structure enough for fire crews to get on board to fight the fire. A former San Diego County Sheriff's deputy who killed a man trying to escape from custody is the first law enforcement officer to be charged under the state's new use of force standard. 23-year-old Aaron Russell pleaded not guilty to second-degree murder yesterday in the shooting death of Nicholas Bills. The new statute says use of force is justifiable if deemed necessary rather than an old standard of reasonable. Russell had only been with the department for 18 months. Former District Attorney Paul Pfingst says that could act against him.
Because there's an objective standard that's being used that applies to all police officers without consideration to their relative length of tenure on the department. So he is one of those people who this statute may affect more strongly than someone who's more veteran and spent more time in situations involving use of force. His history of use of force would be very limited simply because he is so junior in the department.
If convicted, Russell faces 15 years to life in state prison and up to an additional 10 years on a firearm allegation. Nearly 2 months after George Floyd was killed by Minneapolis police during an arrest, his family's attorney is filing suit against the city and the police officers involved. Nadia Romero has more.
His death sparked a movement and demands for justice. Now the family of George Floyd is filing a federal wrongful death civil rights lawsuit against the city of Minneapolis and the police officers involved in Floyd's arrest.
But it was the knee of the entire Minneapolis Police Department on the neck of George Floyd that killed him.
While charges have been filed against the 4 former officers implicated in his death, attorney Benjamin Crump says the goal of the suit is to serve a larger purpose.
And with this lawsuit, we seek to set a precedence to make it financially prohibitive that the police won't wrongfully kill marginalized people, especially black people, in the future.
Floyd's death is forcing a reckoning around the world over racial inequality and police brutality and shining a light on other black Americans killed by police, including Breonna Taylor, who was shot 8 times while Louisville police executed a no-knock warrant in a narcotics investigation. On Tuesday, protesters gathered outside the home of Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron demanding justice. 87 protesters were arrested, including Real Housewives of Atlanta star Portia Williams, granddaughter of civil rights activist Hosea Williams. Nadia Romero, KPBS News.
Today, the San Diego City Council Public Safety Committee approved a law aimed at regulating the city's use of surveillance technology. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen has more.
Calls for the ordinance were amplified after San Diego police began accessing video from the city's so-called smart streetlights without independent oversight. The proposed ordinance would require the city council to sign off on how police or other city departments will use new surveillance technology before it's acquired. Public Safety Committee Chair Monica Montgomery says governments have failed to keep up with advancements in that technology.
Today's action is about transparency, and without oversight, these powerful technologies can be misused and abused. We see the benefits of the lights for crime-solving purposes, but the city has not been honest in the past about how certain departments are using these lights and for what reason.
Montgomery also proposed creating a new privacy commission that would advise city officials. The proposals will now undergo legal review before being voted on by the full city council. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Hackers targeted the Twitter accounts of tech billionaires and politicians in a Bitcoin scam. The Twitter support page tweeted that it was investigating and working to fix it, but for the time being, verified account users are unable to tweet or reset their passwords. Con artists sent fake tweets from Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, and Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates, among others. They offered to send $2,000 for every $1,000 sent to a Bitcoin address. Today is tax day. Your federal income tax was postponed because of the pandemic. But if you haven't yet, you may want to file online because there's a huge backlog of paper tax returns because so many IRS employees are actually working from home. Taxpayers who already filed a paper return may still be waiting for a refund. Also know you can request an extension to October 15th. We're halfway through the work week and temperatures are rising as we get closer to the weekend. Mark Mancuso has your forecast.
Here's a look at our weather headlines. Next couple of days, no real big changes. We'll see our nighttime and morning clouds near the coast, giving way to sunshine in the afternoon hours. Temperatures will gradually warm end of the weekend into the weekend. And then next week, there could be a little bit of monsoonal moisture coming back into play. Some of the mountain areas, probably not until midweek. Not expecting a big thrust of moisture, but there could be some. Now, as we take a look at tonight, clouds thickening up again. Oceanside, San Diego, low of 67 in San Diego. Ramona dips down to 53. El Cajon, 64. Borrego Springs, a mild 75, and down to 58 in Mount Laguna. For tomorrow, no real big changes here. We'll have the onshore flow, so it'll be a little cooler at the coast here. Interior sections will stay hot in the deserts and we're dry as all the moisture is still off to the east. Temperature-wise, we'll hit 109 Borrego Springs, Campo's up to 92, El Cajon's at 88, Escondido's 85, San Diego's 76, and Oceanside at 77. How does it look for the weekend? Well, it looks hot and dry. Temperatures will be on the rise as high pressure expands a bit over the area. And there's that monsoonal moisture still off to our east. Take a look at our temperatures. You can see how they'll gradually rise over the weekend. Highs close to 80 both Saturday and Sunday. Looks nice. Inland areas, temperatures will be close to 90 over the weekend with plenty of sunshine. Heading up through the mountains, looks good, continues dry. And as we head to the deserts, triple-digit heat. Temperatures a little hotter over the weekend. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
Across San Diego County, more than 400 people have died of COVID-19. For some families, their sudden deaths leave behind questions about what went wrong. iNews source and investigative reporter Mary Plummer reports on how one family in National City is coping.
Mistakes, slow testing, and poor care. These are some of the problems the families we interviewed faced during the final days of their loved ones.
This is Joseph Bondok's story. The Navy veteran died May 21st of COVID-19. He was buried with military honors at Miramar National Cemetery, and his family was there. but Joseph died alone in a Boston hospital. After retiring from the military, he became a civil service mariner. He was home on vacation with his wife and 3 kids in National City when he got a call that he had to report to Boston in March to do maintenance on a Navy ship. About a month after he arrived, he started feeling sick. A positive test ultimately landed him in the hospital. His wife, Wichelda, unable to travel, was stuck at home.
We cannot even eat and sleep because we keep waiting for the what's the update. We're just hoping every day for a good news. And when I called, when I hear what's news and it's not good, I was like getting black and I couldn't understand anymore what they're saying.
As his condition worsened, the family wrote letters to God asking that he be healed.
This is from Joseph. We prayed day and night. Our kids were hoping for him to go home. We even prepared for his homecoming. And this is from Brad.
It was so sad that most every night I almost cried. I really miss him right now. Like he was like a loving and caring dad.
Joseph spent the last 2.5 weeks of his life on a ventilator. Unable to talk with his family, he was 54 when he died. Wichelda spends her days grieving and wondering and taking care of their kids. She says Joseph told her masks were not required on the ship or provided until the 2nd week. And at first, no social distancing was in place. In all, 24 of 47 crew members tested positive. Wichelda wonders why the work was necessary in the midst of a pandemic.
I was thinking, what if they just let him finish his vacation? I think he's maybe still alive now. And why they have to recall everyone and not to secure or guarantee their safety.
Wichelda remembers her husband through photos and keepsakes, pictures from their wedding day in the Philippines, photos of the family at the beach in Coronado. She says he had hoped to retire soon.
The Military Sealift Command, which maintains the Navy ship where Joseph got sick, declined our interview request. In a statement, the command said tactics to fight the virus evolved and repair work on ships had to continue. For KPBS, I'm iNews Source investigative reporter Mary Plummer.
For more on other lives lost to COVID-19, go to inewssource.org. iNews Source is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. More Rite Aid pharmacies will begin offering COVID-19 testing. 5 drive-through locations across our county will open tomorrow. They are in Alpine, Fallbrook, Lemon Grove, Oceanside, and in Valley Center. You must make an appointment online, but you can get a test whether you are asymptomatic or not. Results are expected in 3 to 5 days. Walmart, the world's biggest retailer, is joining the growing list of companies now requiring all customers wear masks. There currently no federal mandate, but the CDC recommends them to reduce the spread of the virus. Mandy Gaither takes a look at which face coverings work better.
With so many different mask types out there, you may be wondering which ones are going to protect you and others the best. The answer may surprise you. According to a study at Florida Atlantic University, well-fitted masks made from 2 layers of tightly stitched cotton fabric are the best when it comes to blocking the droplets from coughs. Researchers compared the effectiveness of these masks with 3 other styles of face coverings: loosely folded cloth masks, bandana-style coverings, and cone-style masks. Using a mannequin head, a manual pump, a smoke generator, and a laser, researchers were able to emulate a person sneezing or coughing and then trace how far the droplets traveled. With a 2-layer stitch cloth mask, the potential virus droplets only traveled 2.5 inches from the wearer. The second most effective was the cone-style mask, with droplets going approximately 8 inches out from the mask. The folded handkerchief and bandana styles proved least effective, with leakage expanding from 1 to 3 feet. If someone with no face covering coughs or sneezes, those droplets can travel up to 8 feet around them. For today's Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Even as Disneyland Hong Kong closes again amid new coronavirus cases, Disneyland Paris welcomed back guests today. Face masks are required, park capacity has been reduced, and each ride has been adapted to allow social distancing. Here in the U.S., Disney World in Orlando began a phased reopening last weekend.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, as the COVID-19 infection rate shows no signs of slowing, authorities reimpose restrictions. That's coming up at 7 right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And here's another look at today's top stories. More and more people in their 20s are being admitted at hospitals around the county with COVID-19 as the number of deaths and cases continue to rise. Today, county officials reported 12 more people have died from the virus. There are also 559 new cases, pushing the total past 21,000. San Diego County has scaled up its testing, but labs like Quest Diagnostics say a nationwide trend of increased testing is slowing down the process to get results. There's also a supply issue. New state guidance recommends prioritizing testing of hospital patients, then symptomatic and high-risk people who may have come into contact with a positive case. Today, the San Diego City Council Public Safety Committee approved a law aimed at regulating the city's use of surveillance technology. It comes after San Diego police began accessing video from the city's so-called smart streetlights without independent oversight. As always, you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.